my bachelor's in optometry in Maharajganj Medical Campus, Institute of Medicine. And today, I'm with you all today as a host for the I Talk program organized by Meru Eye Foundation. And I feel very privileged to welcome you all for this session. Before we formally begin this webinar, I'd like to request all the attendees to mute their microphone through the audio option that is visible on your screen. I'd like to repeat this thing once again. Before we formally begin today's program, I'd like to request all of you to mute your microphone through audio option that is visible on your screen. And let me also inform you that we will also be conducting a discussion session at the very end of this webinar. So if we have any questions, we have enabled our chat, which you can easily see on your screen. If you have any questions in between, you can ask them there in the conversation box. So the topic for today's webinar is Aura Vision and Smart Vision Glasses, Assistive Devices for Low Vision. And our speaker for today's program is Dr. Ganesh YV from SHG Technology, and we heartily welcome Dr. Ganesh YV for his presence. Now, I would like to hand over this session to him. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Sneha. Yeah, so we can begin the session right away. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir, you might begin this session. And I'd also like to inform at the same time that we are streaming live on YouTube. So there are many participants due to their technological problems. If they have not been able to join us through this Zoom meeting, they can join us through our YouTube live. Thank you.
Okay, I hope my presentation is visible. Yeah, so just to introduce myself, I'm Dr. Ganesh from Bangalore, India. I completed my medicine MBBS and joined SSG Technologies, who were making assistive devices for people who are completely visually impaired. And I joined to begin with. I joined to add more focus into low vision, and over time, over the last 3 to 4 years, I've taken up more responsibility as the overall chief product officer, handling both lines of products, both for the completely visually impaired, that is smart vision glasses, as well as for the low vision, for individuals with low vision, Aura vision glasses. So we'll go into more detail about how these glasses help and actually understand what low vision actually is. So the WHO definition for low vision is a person with low vision is one who has an visual impairment of functioning even after treatment or after refractive correction in the better eye, and has a visual acuity of less than 6 by 18 or a visual field less than 10 degrees. So this, I really want all of you to make note of the last point in red, which says that this definition is only for reporting purpose. It should not be used as an eligibility criteria for anyone trying to avail low vision or disability services. That is because, say, here these two are treated as distinct criteria. Visual acuity and visual field are treated as distinct criteria, whereas usually we see a combination of both. And say a person with 6 by 12 visual acuity, that might sound good on paper, but if he has only a 15-degree visual field, again, that is not coming under the cutoff. So when a person has a combination of both, then they do really struggle. Say a person with 15 degrees of visual field and 6 by 12 visual acuity would really struggle to move around their surroundings, and really struggle to traverse in very new surroundings. So yeah, these are just for a definition purpose. These are not to be used as an eligibility criteria. So what are the visual functions that actually encompass the entirety of a low vision evaluation? We look at visual acuity, which is your resolving power of the eye, and contrast sensitivity. So the difference between the darkest and lightest areas that the person can perceive, what is the minimum difference? color vision, self-explanatory, uh, visual field, the extent of the entire peripheral visual field, stereopsis or binocular vision, which is heavily involved in depth perception, visual processing, so actually uh, uh, integrating with cognition and understanding of different visual stimuli in a particular scene, and visual motor integration is basically hand-eye coordination as well as a little bit of your coordination with the extraocular muscles. So the most common causes of low vision are right now it is still uncorrected refractive error, where they're simply wearing not having access to wearing glasses or are wearing the wrong prescription. So they've not been screened very frequently or properly. And next is cataract, then age-related macular degeneration, glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, corneal opacities, corneal scars, optic atrophy, and retinitis pigmentosa. So these are the most common causes of low vision. And more than the causes, we want to focus on how a individual with low vision actually sees the world. So that would give us a better understanding of how we can try to enhance whatever they see. So mostly the most common types of presentation of low vision are central field defects. Usually you see these in macular defects, macular degeneration, macular holes, macular edema. Peripheral field defect, most common in glaucoma, in retinitis pigmentosa, and blurry or hazy vision most common in diabetic retinopathy. So again, in central field effect, wherever the person is trying to look at, that has a blurry or a hazy spot. So usually these people report issues like they're unable to identify people, they're unable to look and identify distant objects more in that range. Peripheral field effect, usually they have issues in moving around because they also see that they develop sort of nystagmoid movements with their eyes because they need to search a lot more around to get an understanding of their surroundings. And blurry or hazy vision is a general poor quality of vision. So here you don't get to see a lot of visual field defects, either a peripheral visual field or a central visual field. It's not restricted to a particular point in the visual field. It is a global defect, global loss in quality of vision, poor contrast, and a poor light sensitivity and such. And so that is how qualitatively a person with low vision sees. Those are the types of presentations of low vision. But how does it affect their daily activities? So for students, it could be that they have difficulty reading from a blackboard or writing and copying. So they're looking at something and copying back onto another book, identifying different objects around them. For working age employees, it could be difficulty in doing their computer work, like filling in Excel sheets, filling in forms and such, reading documents, either be it on a computer screen or hard copies. Hard copies all the more difficult. Computer screens nowadays, you have all these magnification gestures and all. Hard copies are very, very difficult. Seeing presentations in a conference room. So this is somewhere where you cannot really get close because of the social nature of a conference. So again, these are some issues with working age employees that they do report. And for older people, usually with age-related macular degeneration or glaucoma or diabetic retinopathy, we see most commonly the complaints are reading medicine labels. That is a very common use case. Watching TV, they have some difficulty in watching TV. So they usually try to get very, very close and watch recognizing faces. So this is a more of an emotional point where they want to look at their grandchildren moving around, they want to identify them, they want to play with them, but they're having difficulty even recognizing their grandchildren, and moving around independently without the assistance of someone. So this mostly with when you have a severe peripheral field defect, and identifying different objects in and around the house. So these are the most common complaints. So this I have emphasized only because with the low vision examination and a trial, we want to counter what their actual functional limitations are. We don't want to, and we might not be able to get their vision back to 100%. We are always going, it is always a balancing act, but we are trying to get their vision to a point where whatever their target activity is, that can be done in a much easier manner. So that is our target. Do not target 20 by 20 or 6 by 6 vision. That may or may not be achievable, but if they are able to do what they want to do, they will be happy. So that is our main target. So the most common, so traditionally we have had low visions and mostly optical devices. So I think all of you have come across optical devices, right? Your magnifying spectacles, hand magnifiers, stand magnifiers, telescopes. So these are very, very ubiquitous, available everywhere, not very expensive. But they do come with a lot of limitations. So we'll go into those in detail in the next few slides. So these are the optical devices. They make use of glass optics to usually magnify and display things in a better manner so that they are more easily identifiable. Then you have non-optical devices. So these are your reading guides, writing guides, and your Neuer filters and other different frequency absorption filters. So these are a little bit more difficult to actually incorporate into their daily life because again, these guides do not come in all shapes and sizes in which they might need. And absorptive filters work for certain types of ailments really well. So we don't want to discount them, but yeah, reading guides and writing guides are very common in your low vision practice. And as we move into the future, more and more electronic devices have come up. So video magnifiers, I think you might all be aware of, basically like a slate magnifier, but it is a video stream with a camera and a light underneath. So this is again something that is pretty useful. Screen magnification software. So again, now that we moved away from hard copies for the most part and looking at mostly soft copies, it is much easier for screen magnifiers and screen readers to just read whatever is there on the screen. And finally, we move into AI and AR wearables. So this is really, really new. Only in the last 3 to 4 years, these have cropped up significantly. So here, AI would be more of a descriptive for people who are fully visually impaired, and AR would be more of an enhancement for people who have some level of low vision and some level of functional vision left, which can be enhanced. So we move into Aura Vision glasses. So Aura Vision stands for augmented reality assisted vision. So here, this is how the glass looks. So these glasses were launched in early 2025, in February of 2025, in Bangalore in India. So the main features were they offered up to 20 times the digital magnification. They offered field expansion. So like we discussed with peripheral field effects, you have a field constriction. So what how it works is it just takes a wider capture and shrinks it down into the area where you can see. So you see on the image there are two cameras on the front of the glass. One is for enhancing magnification and the other is for expanding the field. So that they work at conjunction and are able to do both within the same glass. So it can be customized for the individual's requirement and offer contrast enhancement. So it's, again, since this is a completely digital system where the cameras capture and the displays on the glasses on the rear of the glasses here, these displays have you can adjust your brightness, you can adjust your contrast, you can adjust all these things to again suit the particular individual's requirements. These are range independent. So basically, you can use them regardless of range. So we discussed optical devices. So usually, when you prescribe a handheld magnifier, you don't really target anything that is to be read further away than a foot. Yeah, but when they need to look at something in the distance, you have to again have them switch to a telescope or something, and that might not be very, very feasible to switch in between. So practically that is not useful. Whereas here it's completely range independent and also it's very seamless in the way it switches between ranges. Again, we'll go more into detail of that. But yeah, generally these optical devices are a little limited in terms of range and in terms of the tasks they are used for. Say, for example, your stand magnifier, you can only use it for writing because its magnification is lower since it has to stay away from the actual material to allow you to put your pen or pencil underneath the magnifier itself. So the magnification factor is a little lower. Handheld magnifier, you can use it only for reading, you can't write with it. And your telescopes, you can only look at distance, you cannot focus on anything closer than a meter with a telescope. So with all these limitations, that is where a digital system is able to offer all these advantages. So being completely range independent, you can look at distance, you can look at near, you can write, you can read, you can do everything without switching it out ever. and it has different viewing filters to enhance contrast and offer a better visuals for people, especially like people with oculocutaneous albinism or retinitis pigmentosa. They really lean towards some of these color filters, invert color filters, all these things. So these are also present within the glass. So you can see on the images on the rear, on the second image, you can see there's a dial. There are dials in front of each eye. So that is your refractive error adjustment. So you need to correct for distance, and it's a spherical equivalent. It goes from +3 to -6 in spherical equivalent for both eyes. And on the very bottom, you have the remote. So that houses the battery and the main processing and the controls. So that is connected to the glasses via a wire. So this is how the entire system works. So the battery and all the main processing being moved away made sure that the actual wearable part was not very heavy. Yeah. Shall we move ahead?
Yes, Dr. Ganesh, you may continue.
Yeah. Yeah. And the next point, so this I just explained it briefly. So it is unrestricted in terms of its range. So it has a autofocus. So anywhere from 15 centimeters. So usually when a person is reading something, they hold it 20 to 30 centimeters away. So it focuses even closer, 15 centimeters, all the way to optical infinity. And there's no manual input required. It is completely automated. So wherever you look, it will automatically focus. So that makes it completely seamless. So what we have seen is these college students and people who need to take notes of a distance. College students, they need to look at a board that is 5 to 8 meters away from them, and then look at a book that is 30 to 40 centimeters away from them and take notes on it. So it is completely seamless in switching between these. Wherever they look at, it will switch focus seamlessly, and the magnification is also maintained regardless of whether it is 8 meters or 40 centimeters. The magnification value is maintained. So again, their visual acuity is not going to change, their accommodation is not going to change. So it is a completely seamless experience in working between ranges. So, and refractive correction, the reason we do it only for distances, these are virtual screens that won't move, and the virtual image is projected at optical infinity. So your accommodation is completely relaxed, and as long as you have the refractive error dialed in, your accommodation is at optical infinity and completely relaxed. So yeah, the focusing of the actual autofocus is independent of the actual image that the person sees inside the glass. So that image is always at optical infinity. So your accommodation is completely relaxed, but the image is brought into focus by the camera separately. So it does not affect your accommodation at all. So there's no near addition or anything that needs to be provided. And yeah, so like I said, for working professionals or college students or high school students who have a high range demand and switching between ranges very often, that is where this has a unprecedented advantage over traditional devices and optical devices. So another thing I want to highlight is the magnification, simply how much magnification it offers. So it magnifies up to 20x, and more than that number, it is a little more significant when you compare it to a optical device. So visual field in your telescopes are really restricted. If you've seen any telescope beyond 4x or above, you see that the visual field is extremely small. So that is an optical compromise you cannot really overcome due to physics. But with an electronic visual aid, the field of view is fixed, and it is always at 68 degrees, whether you are at 2x, whether you are at 20x, whether you are at 0.5x, the field of view is fixed at 68 degrees wide. So that is again another huge advantage. So when you're actually magnifying, you get a much wider area of the visual field enlarged rather than a small segment. So say practically speaking, a 6x telescope might not be of very much use because the field of view is so small to just track and find the spot where you want to, where your target is and where you want to read something might itself take a lot of time. Whereas with Aurovision glasses, that 20x, not only can it zoom in further, at lower zoom level, it has a wider field of view. So it is much easier for you to spot your point of fixation, that your target point of fixation. And again, also other things also help. Again, in optical media, you don't really get an enhancement to contrast or sharpness. So with digital, you get all these other enhancements also. So it's not just the magnification number, it's a combination of everything. So next, I'll have an image just to simulate the advantage. So this is a 6x telescope view, and on your right, you have a 6x Aura Vision view. So you can see the actual characters on both sides are about the same size because the magnification is the same. But with a much wider field of view inside Aura Vision, you are able to see much more of the, in this case, a blackboard with chalk writing on it. So here you can see immediately the advantage this will have in a school setting or in a college setting where a student is trying to look at the notes and then immediately look at the point where they need to continue from. It's much easier when the field of view is much wider. And also one more thing you can see is the sharpness. You can see the whites appear brighter, the blacks appear darker. The contrast is boosted, and also the edges are more defined in Aura Vision because it's digitally enhanced. It need not, even if the image is a little bit fuzzy, it can always digitally enhance and make sure that it looks sharp and clear for the user. So this is, I think, a good visual representation of difference between a 6x telescope and Aura Vision set to 6x, how much of an advantage it carries. Shall I move ahead? Any questions or anything you might want to clarify here? Okay, I'll move ahead then. So the next thing, again, that is completely unique is electronic field expansion. So this, I just want to explain the concept of how it works because we've seen patients and we've sold it to patients who are really really happy and who not felt anything like it. So I'll go into cases in a little while. But right now, electronic field expansion, the concept is, so traditionally you had these optical devices, mostly these prisms, that are able to provide a little bit of field enhancement for people who have mostly hemianopias or quadrantial field effects. So here with for people who have really restricted fields, this is not going to help them much. Your prisms or your reverse telescopes are not very helpful. So this is where electronic field expansion comes in. Again, one, it has these other parameters that you can adjust, other image features that you can adjust and enhance to make sure that even a expanded image, so expansion basically we want to, within their visual field, if a person with glaucoma has a 20-degree or a 15-degree visual field, within that field, how do we make sure that the person can see more? So say if we are capturing a 40-degree visual field and trying to fit it into 15 degrees, so that will already come with a loss of visual detail. So one thing is they need to have pretty good visual acuity. So we do go by a formula where the visual acuity demand for a particular visual field is 6 by 2 into visual field. So for a person with 10 degrees of visual field remaining, his visual acuity demand would be 6 by 20. For a person with 8 degrees of visual field, it would be 6 by 16, and so on. So this is just a little thumb rule to go by on assessing eligibility and whether the field expansion can actually work. So again, even when we shrink, we need to make sure that the person has enough visual acuity to see the shrunken detail. That is one. And also one more thing that does help with visualizing the lost detail or the shrunken detail is, again, these are sharpening, these contrast boosts, all of these things even help. So even if the image is shrunken by 2 times, we are able to bring back some of the detail through these sharpening and boosting contrast and all these things. So there are lots of studies so far, very recent studies from 2020, 2025, 2026, very very recent studies that show that this electronic field expansion and AR based augmented reality based field expansion is really really proving to be helpful for people with severe field defects. So if you have a chance, you can just take a screenshot of these and go through them whenever you want. Or again, you can come back to this on the stream and then look into these articles. So I want to discuss briefly about the future development. So what I've discussed is for Auravision 1, so that we launched it in February of 2025. And we have received lots of feedback over the year and a half that it has been out. So Auravision version 2, or Auravision Air as we like to call it, because it's significantly gone down in weight. So the Auravision 1, the wearable part only, was around 140 grams. The new one would be around 85 grams. So again, significantly lower weight, much better comfort, much better looking. So again, one more thing we observed was people with low vision. The older one had these wires coming from the glasses and into the remote, and the remote was handheld. They could not put it anywhere. If you don't have a corner pocket, you can't put it anywhere. And usually, women don't wear uh, dresses with pockets very often here. So that being the case, it became not really an advantage where you're still holding something in your hand and walking around and doing adjustments and all these things. And it definitely looked like a gadget. It did not look normal at all. So again, that social barrier that was there, that we could not overcome, even though it was really helpful and offering like completely seamless functional improvement, it was not able to provide that level of social security that they had without using the device. And they were a little insecure in going out with these devices, wearing these devices in public. So that is the reason. Mostly, this is a cosmetic change. The functions have been maintained to a very high level, and some of them have even been improved. Like the brightness has been improved even more. The stability, the image stability, when you zoom in more, has been improved quite a bit. Again, few complaints that came with reading for longer time, because it's a head-mounted glass. The camera is fixed to the head positioning. So if you want to read something at slightly lower than eye level, you need to tilt your head a little bit. So for longer reading sessions, it caused a lot of neck strain. So that is being compensated for with the tilt assist, where okay, if you tilt your neck by 5 degrees, the tilt assist will make sure that the view is actually tilted by 15 degrees. So the neck posture again is has become much less of a issue now. And the controls, instead of having a separate remote, has gone on the temple itself. On the right side of the glass, on the temple, there are all the buttons and controls. The remote has been removed. It has been replaced with a neckband. So again, a neckband is a form factor that is not very, that doesn't carry a lot of social friction, because your neckband earphones are very common. So these do not carry nearly the level of social friction that the older remote connected to a long wire did. And the wire is very short. It connects directly to the back of the glass, so you never see that the wire is there. And yeah, one more thing is, previously we had these dials for correcting refractive error. Here we won't have any dials. There's no on inbuilt refractive error correction. We have a slot where you can fit any prescription lenses onto the glass itself directly. So again, it opens up the entire refractive correction range. You essentially don't have a limit for refractive correction. And you have different front cover attachment options for different light covers and different color filters and all these things. So this is just a brief overview about what would be coming quite soon. So we'll move into the cases. First case is of a patient with Stargardt's disease, a 57-year-old businessman. Uh, his best corrected visual acuity was 3 by 30 for distance and N24 for near. And his self-reported acuity limitation was reading different books, articles, documents, and working on a laptop. So with AVG, after the AVG trial, he improved to 6 by 6 parts for distance and N8 near. So usually we do see it go to N6, but because he was a slightly older gentleman, he could not hold it steady at those higher magnifications and looking at something close by. So his comfortable reading level was only N8. And he reported that's a significant improvement in functional reading, because again, N6 was not his target. None of the material he was trying to read what was N6. It was actually more close to N10 or N12 equivalent. So the fact that he was able to read N8 comfortably meant N10 or N12 is going to be a complete breeze to read through. And he reported that he was able to finish his tasks on his laptop much faster. So this is just a case of Stargardt's disease. A second case of a macular dystrophy. This was a 28-year-old male patient who was an IT employee. 6 by 36 parts best corrected, and N24 for near. His self-reported activity limitations were identifying different objects around him in his office space, recognizing people at his workplace, and reading hard copy documents. With AVG, he improved again to 6 by 6 parts, and N6. Again, his best corrected visual acuity was better. So he did not need a lot of magnification. So shake was not nearly as much of an issue. He went completely, he could read like a normal person. Basically, N6, he was reading quite quickly. So again, he was extremely happy. He reported that the clarity and ability to perform near tasks was much better, and he was able to also recognize and converse with his colleagues much better because he was able to recognize them. He was able to understand who was talking to him, and that made conversations flow much easier. Even though again, these glasses did carry a lot of social friction in terms of how they looked and all. Once a person is convinced themselves and the people around them are not very judgmental, then they do take to it in a much better fashion. So that requires a level of counseling and also accepting environment for them to get comfortable in. The third case I would like to discuss is RP. So this I want to highlight just because of your field expansion. So we had a 26-year-old male patient. In India, we have a exam called IAS, Indian Administrative Service, UPSC exam. So he was studying for that, and his best corrected visual acuity was 6 by 12 parts. So again, you might think, okay, he should be able to somewhat carry out his task, but his field of vision was really restricted. Less than 10 degrees on his right eye, less than 8 degrees on his left eye. So that made things really difficult for him. And activity limitations was generally he complained about mobility, moving around unfamiliar spaces, going downstairs, navigating web pages. So going downstairs, I'll just want to explain why that might be a very common complaint for people who have this contrast vision deficit. So usually we have overhead lighting, and coming up the stairs, overhead lighting forms really distinct shadows between stairs. But when you're going downstairs, it looks like a complete slope because the light is coming from above. You can't really see the edge because the shadow of the edge is not visible for a person looking from above. It's only visible for a person looking from below. So they don't really complain about going upstairs, but they really struggle walking downstairs and judging how many steps there are. So that is something that is a quite frequent complaint for people with RP and uh, other pathologies which cause loss in contrast, visual contrast. And he reported that he was not very confident going around in darker settings, as well as he had lots of glare and poor visibility in direct sunlight, working in direct sunlight as well. So we gave him a trial of AVG. He improved to a functional field of 25 degrees from 10 degrees. He went up to 25 degrees with a 0.3x expansion and contrast adjustment. So we boosted the contrast after giving expansion. We boost the contrast so that they are able to get some of that visual detail back. So after this, we gave him training for around 48 hours. So he came 3 days to our facility, and we were continuously training him for 8 hours a day. And then we asked him to basically try it out at home as well. So after this, he was so confident. He was able to he told us that he was much better and much more confident in identifying number of stairs while going downward. And so the reason why we gave such a long training session, so that is not standard, but the reason why we gave such a long training session is this patient needs a 0.3x field expansion. So that being the case, what we want to do is we want to make sure that the person has lost a sense of depth. So because previously his only way to sense depth, because he has really restricted field, he was not getting much of a binocular overlap. So his only way to perceive depth was through familiarity. So he understands the general size of objects around him, how large they need to be, depending on the distance they are, and that was his only way of judging depth. So once we do a field expansion, so basically the things start looking smaller, he loses that ability as well. So that takes some acclimatization to for his brain to understand, okay, this is a new settings. And as he interacts with more and more objects, as he tries to pick up objects, his brain gets a sort of a reset in its depth gauging ability. So again, that's the reason why he had to train for 48 to 72 hours. But after that, he reported that he was much more confident while walking in unfamiliar spaces. His night vision had expanded, has was enhanced significantly, because again, he was looking at a display, so that always stayed bright regardless of external conditions, and he was able to identify pathways in night much easier. And also during the daytime, the glasses come with a light cover, so that attachment basically eliminated his issue with glare and photophobia. So I'll just conclude all this for Aura Vision in who it is recommended for. So Aura Vision is recommended based on the area and extent of an individual's functional vision deficit. So we don't look at the actual pathology too much. We look at how his functional vision is right now, and then based on that, we are able to assess them with Aura Vision. A visual acuity of 1 by 60 or better is preferred, again, but depends on their target activity. 1 by 60 is already really low. But even for people who have a worse visual acuity than that, if their visual target activity is not very demanding on visual acuity, if they just want to feel a little bit better, a little bit more confident in doing something, it can still be given. But our recommendation is 1 by 60 or better at the very least. A visual field of 8 degrees from the central point of fixation or better. And task based, so again, these are recommendations based on what their task of interest is. So that would be note taking from blackboards or smart boards, using computers, recognizing people around them. All these things would be the major tasks that you can target. And the pathologies that would be uh, sort of indications for aura vision might be macular dystrophies, glaucoma, ocular cutaneous albinism, diabetic retinopathy, retinitis pigmentosa, corneal disorders and corneal aberration, corneal scarring, optic nerve atrophy, and lots more. So pathologies, I'm just giving an idea of the most common ones, but it is more about the functional vision, how where their vision is at a functional level. So that is it about aura vision. We can, if you want, we can quickly have a question answer session about aura vision before I resume with smart vision glasses. Is that okay?
Thank you so much, Dr. Yes, now I'd like to request all the participants, if you have any kind of question, then the floor is open, and you can ask your questions to our Dr. Ganesh through chat conversation, or you can just DM in the conversation box. About the smart vision glasses and the Aura glasses, it is also available in Dristy Ventures, Meruai. So this Aura vision, which is used for patients with visual impairment, it is also available in Dristy Ventures. We have a new message in our chat box. So they have asked us what are complications or troubleshooting we might expect.
Yeah. So one, not a complication, but more of a worry that usually people do have is, okay, you're keeping a display very close to my eye. Will it cause some visual strain? Will I get some headache? So with the version 1 of Aura Vision, headaches was a possibility because the IPD was fixed. Interpupillary distance was fixed at 62 mm. So that was a good midpoint. But if a person has really wide IPD, say anything longer than 70 mm or something, then that large IPD divide would, yeah, that large IPD disparity would cause some people to have headaches. So that was one concern with Aura Vision 1. Aura Vision 2, it doesn't really have that issue. Yeah, Aura Vision version 2 will not have the that issue because the IPD is adjustable. Um, Yeah, so the weight of the glasses, the newer Aura Vision glasses just the glass would be around 85 grams, and the neck band is a separate unit. It rests on your neck, so it's not going to be as stressful. That is going to weigh around 180 grams, so that lies on your neck. So the weight is completely distributed on the entire back of your neck. The battery backup would be, we are estimating it to be around 4.5 hours of continuous use. But again, it will vary depending on what brightness you set the glass to and all of those things. Yeah, there are different contrast filters like yellow and black, black and yellow, blue and yellow, blue and black, uh, orange and dark green. All these different filters that you would see in your video magnifiers or any other color filters on your digital color filter, digital screen filters. All of these things are available in the glass as well. Do we get a demo of the device? Yeah, I think Mr. Kapil would be able to help you with that, depending on where you're from. What's the best criteria to evaluate before dispatching? Yeah, so criteria as such, there is not just one criteria. We look at the entire. So the most important thing is you need to understand what they are struggling with, what their quality of vision is right now. Quality of vision in terms of visual acuity, visual field, contrast sensitivity, color vision, their hand-eye coordination. All these things you need to take into measure to make sure that uh, the glasses with whatever enhancement you can give that would be able to satisfy their demand. So that is the main objective of giving any sort of trial. So yeah, once you understand their target activity or demand, then you can have an assessment of their functional vision. And if you feel like okay, the target demand is achievable through Aura Vision or any sort of enhancement through Aura Vision, then yeah, you do a trial and again try to replicate their target activity. And if they are comfortable doing it, they may not be comfortable at the first moment because it's completely new. They need to get used to the feel of it and all. But again, over time they will get used to it. But you just have to look at some objective data, like how much does it improve their visual acuity. If they have a constricted visual field, how much does it improve their visual field, and does it practically offer a benefit over whatever sort of adaptations they have right now. And then based on that you can dispatch. Does patient complain the oscillation after wearing it? Okay, so I'm assuming you're talking about shake. Yeah, so at higher magnifications, it is a problem where, okay, especially when you're holding something in your hand, if you're trying to read something off your hand, both your head as well as your hands are prone to shaking. So we do recommend people that, okay, they put whatever reading material is on a stable platform or at least keep their hands steady on a table or something. So just to eliminate one of the 2 points of shake. And again, instead of magnifying it too much, you have other enhancements like boosting contrast, boosting brightness, putting in color filters. Instead of just straight away magnifying until the point where you can start seeing the text, try to use the other options and minimize the magnification to a level. So that sort of thing, usage optimization will come over time. Naturally, people will try to optimize it for their use cases. Uh, yeah, so the weight of the glasses, newer glasses would be around 185 grams for the wearable, the glass itself, and the neckband would be around 150 grams. Can we use? Yes, we can use it with the refractive error correction for the patient. That is just an additional fitment in the glass itself. Yeah, so IPD was constant in the AuraVision version 1. In version 2, you have three presets of IPD. So you get 62 as the median IPD still, and then you get minus 5 mm, which is 57. No, yeah, minus 5 mm, which is 57, and a plus 5 mm, which is 67. So it goes from 57 to 67 mm. Children, we don't really recommend, like with small children, we don't really recommend. We try to keep it to like 10 to 12 years plus. So yeah, the IPD being much smaller than say something lower than 50 mm would become a issue. It might not be very comfortable, but yeah, anything above say 50 to 53 mm shouldn't be a problem, and even as high as 70 to 73 mm shouldn't be a problem. Yeah. Any other questions, or shall I move ahead? Okay, sure. Okay, I'll be moving ahead then into smart vision glasses. So Aura Vision glasses were a pair of vision enhancement glasses through AR. So they capture the image and try to offer these enhancements: brightness, sharpness, contrast, colors, magnification, all these things, to make sure whatever the person actually sees, he is getting compensated in the areas where his vision is lagging behind. That is a enhancement glass. So smart vision glasses comes where, okay, there is no salvageable vision. They have extremely poor vision or are completely blind. So in this cases, we would tend to go lean towards smart vision glasses, which are your assistive glasses. So smart vision glasses are an audio assistive glasses. So on the arms you have small bone conduction hybrid speakers, so bone conduction as well as air conduction right in front of the ear. So it's completely private to whatever the glass audio output is. Only the person who's wearing it can hear it. So the main features are, so this glass also has a camera in the front, but it doesn't have any sort of display. These glasses inside the frame are just your regular polarizing lenses, or whatever you want. You can fit them: clear lens, polarized lens, whatever. So the main features are object detection. So it is able to detect and describe objects around the person. It is able to read text in multiple languages, around 60 different languages it is able to read. Currency detection. So right now, it is able to detect Indian rupee, US dollar, Saudi riyal, Kuwaiti dinar, and a European euro, and British pounds are in the development. These are currently the ones that are being developed, and pretty soon we'll also start development for Nepali rupees. Facial recognition. So it is not only able to describe a person who you've never seen before, it is able to describe them in a broader sense, that okay, there's a around a middle-aged man standing in front of you with a smile on his face, something like that it will give. And then if that is a known person to you and you would like to remember him and recognize him later on, you can choose to store his face, and the next time he comes across, it will be able to tell that okay, that person, Mr. Prashant, is standing in front of you, instead of giving a general description of him. So it is able to understand a person's facial features and store their names and call them out whenever they come in front. Another thing that I'm sorry.
You may continue, Dr. Ganesh. Actually, there is an option of unmuting. So sometimes by mistakenly,
Yeah,
our participants are doing unmute. Okay.
yeah. So one more thing is mobility assistance. So for people who have, again, very very restricted visual field, or are completely blind, they are right now limited to a cane. So the smart vision glasses are able to help them out by saying, giving these macro navigation cues, like okay, there's a signboard in front of you, there's a door to your right, there's a balcony to your left, there's a staircase with 14 steps ahead. All these cues it is able to give while the person is moving around. So person can take a call on where they would like to go and what they would like to do with their surroundings. So it's a continuous feedback, and in that we also have this beeping alert system. So when they are about to bump into something, it beeps at higher and higher frequencies based on the proximity to the object they are about to bump into. So that is our mobility assistance. It's a hybrid setup of alerting as well as feedback. And voice assistance. So again, currently lots of languages are supported for voice assistance. Around 20 different languages are supported. Uh, it's not only an interface. You can basically ask, okay, take me to reading mode, take me to walking assistant, all these things. You can also ask general questions, or you can ask context sensitive questions. So you have a receipt, you have a bill or something, and you can say, hey smarty. So that is the command to activate that voice assistance. Hey smarty, like your hey Google, or hey Alexa, or hey Siri. Hey smarty, if you see, it starts listening. And then you can say, look and tell me how much the total amount is. And then it will just tell you the total amount. If you go to reading mode, it will read from top to bottom the entire receipt. But if you go to this Smarty and ask a specific question, it'll be able to give you the just the specific answer, just the answer you would need at that particular moment. So it is much more context aware, and it is able to understand your request much better. It's not just to switch between different modes. um, yeah, so those are the main feature overview. And the way it works is it has different sensors to capture the environment around it. So there's a camera, there's a lidar sensor which estimates depth of the scene in front of them. So that is what we use in walking distance to give them clear pathways and all. And then there's also a GPS system, so they can again navigate in complete they can completely independently navigate. So it offers both a micro navigation in terms of, say, interior settings within small pathways, identifying potholes, pathways, footpaths, roads. All these things are micro navigation, just the immediate periphery. Macro navigation also. Say if you wanted to take you to the metro station, you can say, "Hey, Smarty, take me to the closest metro station." It'll link with your Google Maps or Apple Maps, and then also guide you with your periphery, immediate periphery, on how to tackle those. So it helps with the entire uh, process of trying to go somewhere. You just let it know where you want to go, and it will take you there with minimal with extremely good safety. I think that would be a better word to describe. And so the way it works is you have different AI models, both local on your, so it connects to your phone wirelessly through Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. And if your phone has internet access, it uses some cloud models. Uh, if your phone doesn't have internet, it still has our own in-house developed models on your phone, which will still be able to guide you around 90% of what cloud models would be able to, and also they are faster also. So yeah, generally speaking, all the AI models, whether it being on device or on the cloud, they are able to help the individual understand where they are, who they are looking at, where they would like to go, where the pathways are, and all these things. And yeah, there are these different modes called things around you, reading mode, walking assistant, currency detection, all these things for specificity. So if I know exactly what I want to do, I can immediately go to that mode. I don't have to think of what I need to do and go through different user interfaces, or like scroll through a phone screen. It is all voice activated, and you can just ask what exactly you want it to do. And you have both voice input as well as a touch input. On the left side, you have a swipe and then confirmation double tap to go into that particular mode. And the output is completely non-intrusive. So you have open ear speakers that also are in contact with your mastoid bone, so they're able to give a bone conduction feel as well. So nobody next to them will be able to hear what they are hearing. And there's a beep system. So this open ear speakers, there's also a functional advantage where, okay, these people who are completely visually impaired have already developed some adaptations to their visual impairment. So they rely a lot on these auditory cues to understand the environment around them. So us plugging them with some earphones or something would not be good. They will actually lose out on whatever adaptations they've built up over time. So we don't want that to happen. So these speakers are completely open, and the person gets to hear both the environment as well as the prompting from the glasses. And there's a separate beep system. I'll explain the reasoning behind this, because we did a study for this mobility uh, in different areas, and the feedback was consistent. So that's why we incorporated this beep system. So it is much more easy to react to, and instead of prompting, it's much easier to react to, and much faster to react to also. So mobility assistance beyond the cane. So you've been canes are very good tools to understand the immediate peripheries, the ground texture, where there's a space around them, any changes in level, any sort of potholes. These things, cane is extremely helpful, and we still say a cane is completely essential for a visually impaired person while they're trying to move around. But what a cane is not able to do is, beyond that 1.5 meter circle that a cane can access, it doesn't have any sort of context to where the person is going, or what, whether they're going on the right path, whether the path they're taking is safe. None of that data, none of that context is able to be transferred to the visually impaired person. So they may not always be able to take the right call. So this is where smart vision glasses would help. So it is to be used in conjunction with a cane. Any cane, there's no smart cane or anything required. Any cane works. Cane is a separate device for just scanning your ground around you. But smart vision glasses are able to give much more information about not only where the spaces are leading to, where there are pathways, and what things are there in the pathway, and who is there in front of them. All these things are continuously being fed to the visually impaired person. And there's also this beeping uh, at variable intensities based on the proximity to the obstacles. So again, it beeps slower at a lower frequency when they're around 2 meters away. If they're a meter away, the frequency and volume goes up. And when they're half a meter away, it beeps quite loudly. So just to make sure that they don't bump into something. So this is just a video of part of the study we did in Maharashtra. So this is a kid from uh, National Association of the Blind in Maharashtra. So he was able to, so the feedback from the glass was stop, obstacle to your right. So then he was able to slowly understand that okay, something is there on his right, and he took a left. But also one more thing you can notice is the glasses itself are older version. So you can see there's a module on the left side of the glass. So these are our older generation smart vision premium glasses. So in from that, it did not have a beeping system. It did not have a directional audio. So both of these have been incorporated in this newer smart vision ultra. So even with the older premium, we did this study just to make sure that okay, it is something that is actually useful in practice for a visually impaired person. And it was. So the conclusions were very confidence inspiring. So it after getting the data, what we observed was the collisions actually reduced by around 85%. And the students reported that they were better, they felt more oriented, and they felt more coordinated while they were walking. And they were able to understand when they were aligned with the footpath, when they were veering onto the road much better when they were wearing smart vision glasses. And their confidence during navigation was better. So the study was between cane only and SVG plus cane. So SVG plus cane was significantly safer than just cane alone. So again, one is it reduced collisions, but one issue was here it slightly reduced the navigation speed around 15 to 20%. It took longer, 15 to 20% longer to complete the same path with SVG plus cane than with just the cane. So even though it was safer, it took more time. So after doing some analysis into it, we found that just the cognitive load and most of the delay was when the users are pausing to listen to the command and then having to process whatever was said and then take a decision on where to go. That was taking a lot of time, and especially when it is just as simple as a stop, there is something to your right, there is something to your left, that does not really need listening, that can be simplified with beeping and directional audio. So that is what we did with this newer smart vision glasses. So it does not rely on just prompting. Prompting is there for telling what is there, but for taking a directional decision or giving an emergency stop warning on all these things, these are more of a audio based and just a beeping based. So it is much easier for a person to take a decision quickly. There's no processing. There's no having to listen to a long prompt or anything. So it we feel it has significantly improved the time that it took for a person to traverse through a known pathway, known or unknown pathway. And so here with smart vision glass, I'd like to discuss one case of a cortical visual impairment. She was a 32-year-old female with left-sided hemiparesis, and her vision was no light perception in both eyes. So her main activity limitations was she was not able to walk independently. She always had her house help with her, trying to help her with her daily tasks. She was not able to call people by herself on her phone. She was again reliant on her maid to help her out. And reading books, she was quite fond to listen to books, but she could not always ask someone to read it out for them. So these were her main limitations she wanted to get clear. So after trial with smart vision glasses And after some counseling, because again they had left-sided hemiparesis, so we encouraged her to and encouraged and trained her to use this voice assistance in a much better fashion. And again, she was able to reach out and try to do it with the right hand also, as well as use voice assistance. So after a week's usage, she told she was able to read books independently now. That was one of her requirements, and she was also gaining some confidence in walking around. For the calling people part, we told her that there are these talkback facilities available on your phone. So that training is a little bit separate. You can still use smart vision glasses to see what's on the phone, but it will be more efficient for her to learn talkbacks, because that's a skill that she would retain for the rest of her life. So yeah, that is it about smart vision glasses. I think I'm done with the presentations here. If there are any questions, we can hear them. Okay, is this available in Nepal language? So no, at the time being, Nepali is not supported, but we are adding support. Right now, it's Hindi is there and Nepal reading is there, because it's using the same script, pretty much the same script as Hindi and a lot of the Sanskrit languages and Devanagari script languages. Reading Nepali, it can do now, but it cannot. It doesn't have an interface in Nepali, and so that is something we are adding. Nepali currency, again, it is in the works. It is in development. It is not yet been released. Yes, it has a specific app called Smart Vision Glasses. It's available on both Android Play Store as well as Apple App Store, and it connects through both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Yeah, it connects to your mobile phone. Okay, so it can read WhatsApp texts. So as long as it is in your notification, you can say, "Hey Smarty, read my notifications," or "Hey Smarty, summarize my notifications." So you get basically a complete summary of whatever notifications you have. So, but as long as you don't clear the notification, they'll be able to give you a summary as well as read out all the texts that are there in your notification. Facebook profile, it might again, if you show the Facebook profile and then ask what it is, it will be able to tell you. But yeah, it doesn't actually see what is there on the screen of the phone directly. You have to use the glass to take a snapshot of the phone, and then you can ask it questions. It is already connected with Gemini internally, so you don't have to connect it with this thing again. Internally, we already use different AI models. Gemini is one of them. Gemini is what we use for some of the voice assistants. But yeah, Gemini, it is already internally connected to. Anything else? Any other questions from anyone? Battery backup. Yeah, so battery backup. So these glasses also come with a neckband, very, very thin neckband, not quite like the Aura Vision glasses. These were actually the size of your Bluetooth earphones. So just the glass alone would give you around 2.5 hours of continuous use, 2.5 to 3 hours of continuous use. And with the battery neckband, we are it is basically quadrupling the battery life. So instead of 3 hours, it would go to 12 hours with the neckband. And again, the glasses have a USB Type C port on the back of the glass. So even if it is completely drained, all you need to do is enable a reverse charging on your phone, plug in a Type C to C cable from your phone to the glass, and the glass becomes functional again. So it is able to charge back up from your phone itself. Okay, Mr. Kapil, anything else from here, from Zoom? Anybody has any questions?
Thank you so much, sir. I think we have one question from Mr. Sanjeev Yadav. After battery dead, how to change an new battery? I think he's asking question about the battery.
Yeah. So if the battery, so if you're asking about once it is discharged, it is just charging. But if you're asking after, say, a few years of use, once the battery is not able to retain charge, we rated for 1,000 cycles. That is basically if you charge your glasses uh, and completely from 0 to 100 every single day, that should last you around 3 years. And after that point, the battery are not user replaceable, but they are replaceable. We will be able to do just the battery replacement and send it back to you for thing, but that would carry a charge. That would be a service.
Thank you so much, sir, and special thanks to our Dr. Ganesh YV. So, concluding the presentation, today we had a webinar on the topic Aura Vision and Smart Vision glasses, which is assistive devices for low vision. Aura Vision is used for visual impairment, whereas smart vision glasses can also be used for visual impairment and low vision patients. Now, I would like to conclude our today's session. First of all, I'd like to thank Dristy Ventures for organizing this iTalks session where many students, many participants from different parts of the country, they, they had the opportunity to talk about Dr. Ganesh YV. A big thanks to Dr. Ganesh YV from SHG Technology. He really did put a lot of effort into this presentation, and by this presentation, we certainly got to learn a lot of things. Talking about this Aura Vision and Smart Vision glasses, they're also available in Nepal. And Drishti Ventures, near Eye Foundation, they have been providing Aura Vision and Smart Vision glasses. And in the upcoming days, we will also be talking about other certain topics like myopia control and management. So, for concluding today's program, I would like to thank Drishti Ventures. I'd like to thank Dr. Ganesh YV from SHG Technology, and also all the participants, not only who participated in the Zoom meeting, but at the same time, participants who also actively involved, got, they were very active in asking questions, our YouTube contestants. So even though due to certain technological problems, they were not able to join us in this Zoom meeting. They did participate in this session via YouTube. So thank you so much, everyone. And by saying this, I would like to end today's session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Ganesh. Okay, it's already been concluded, but I can see the one question over there. So if you can read for it. Okay, the question is how close can read with this device?
Yeah, so with Aura Vision glasses, the minimum focus distance is 15 centimeters. So that's the closest distance from which you can read. Smart Vision glasses, again, the reading distance would be appropriate to the reading material. So if it's like a visiting card, you can hold it a little bit closer. But if it's a book where you want full coverage, it's better to hold it. And again, Smart Vision glasses, while reading, it also gives you alignment guidance, so you should not be having an issue with holding it further or closer to your eyes with smart vision glasses, because if it's too big in the frame, if it suspects that okay, there's more to read in the material, it'll tell you move a little bit back, move right, move left, all these alignment guidance that we give, so that you'd be able to place your reading material in a better position so that it gets captured completely. With Aura Vision, yeah, it is around 15 centimeters. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. The answer now. So, do we have any other question? Then we can ask the question in this chat box. Well, it seems that we have really reached the very end of our today's session. Our today's session was on the topic Aura Vision and Smart Vision Glasses, which are the assistive devices for low vision. And hopefully, well, I believe certainly, all the participants who joined us today in this session had a very productive hour about this low vision devices. So thank you so much, everyone, all the participants. And a special thanks to Dr. Ganesh YV from SHG Technology for helping us understand about this low vision and low vision devices and devices that can also be used for patients having visual impairment or vision and smart vision glasses. And I'd also like to share, and I'd also like to thank Dristy Ventures one more time. We also had a request from Mr. Kambal Uddin to everyone. He has asked us to kindly share our contact details. So, in order to get Aura Vision and Smart Vision glasses, Miro Idristy Ventures, they have been providing this, they will be providing technology in Nepal. Thank you so much, Dristy Ventures. The contact details have been shared. Well, this marks the conclusion and end of our today's session. Namaste, everyone. I hope you had a very productive evening. Thank you all.